Ownership coins are gonna take over the world. And in today's video, I will show you how you can benefit from this upcoming trend. Welcome back to On-Chain Trenches and another deep dive video into MetaDAO and ownership coins. My name is 𝗬𝗵𝘁 and today we are gonna take a look at the recent Solomon ICO that happened just a few weeks ago on MetaDAO before we will then analyze and study some of the upcoming very promising ownership coin launches on MetaDAO. And towards the end of this video, I will outline my bull case thesis for ownership coins and tell you why I am so bullish on MetaDAO. All right, so without further ado, let's directly jump into this presentation. Futardio. First off, a recap of the recent Solomon raise on MetaDAO. Solomon is a stablecoin protocol, also known as the Athena of Solana. If you want to learn more about them, please check out my latest video. But yeah, what happened there? So in total, more than $100 million were committed to this fundraiser. But the team decided to only take 8 million out of this 100 million pool and gave 6,600 unique contributors access to the Solo token. Of course, not everybody or nobody received the full allocation that they wanted to receive. So if you had committed 1,000 USDC to this token sale, you would have roughly gotten $80 worth of Solo, and the rest, $920, would have been refunded to your wallet since the ICO was more than 10x oversubscribed. And as Prophet, the co-founder of MetaDAO, outlines here is that the dollar committed, so more than 100 millions pro rata, is just a vanity metric and doesn't represent the true demand for this ICO. So the fact is that Solomon Labs was able to raise 8 million from a retail community. It gave everybody the same chances to buy into this token sale, and they were able to bootstrap their community and give over 6,500 people early access to their ownership coin. And of course, as always in crypto, no token raise, no ICO, no product launch comes without FUD. And in this case, there was some Polymarket FUD because there was somebody betting on the Polymarket MetaDAO prediction markets, where you could have placed your bets on how much money is going to be committed to the Solomon public sale. And as you can see here, there were different options like over 60 million, over 40 million, over 80 million. And yeah, here was like this specific person that made more than $500K just betting that like all these caps will get filled. And it took a while, but towards the end, like all the bets came in and this guy just benefited massively. So some people made the claims that, oh, this was like some whale that manipulated the markets and he just put in 80 million towards the end of the token race and then he cashed in here. This might be the case, but I mean, those are prediction markets. Everybody knew the rules. And if this can be manipulated, then probably it will. But also it is fact that towards the end of every single fundraiser on MetaDAO, that's the moment where all the money comes in. And you beautifully see that here, like the moment the ICO started, I mean, there some people commit money, but then throughout the 4 days, basically very little money is being committed. And then towards the final hours is where all the betting happens and the players come in to place their investments. And if you just had studied a little bit past ICOs on MetaDAO, then you could have predicted this behavior. And here, Colby beautifully states it, that it's always the case that in the majority of MetaDAO raises, 90% of the contributions come in the last few hours of the race. And this makes a lot of sense also from a game theory perspective, because you as an investor, if you want to buy the Solomon token or whatever other token that is being issued on MetaDAO, you want to get as much of it as possible. So if you put in all of your money right at the start, everybody else sees that you are willing to bid like 1 million. And in the end, you want to get as much tokens as possible. So if other people see that you're putting a lot of money on the line, they know that they have to put even more money on the line to get their fair share of the token. And therefore, everybody waits until the very end to deploy capital. Of course, this process is not ideal, and the team is actively working on improving it. But yeah, that's just the game theory behind it. And yeah, here just some numbers of past raises. In total, a little bit more than $25 million have been raised through the MetaDAO Launchpad across 7 ownership coin ICOs. And as we just discussed, but the total money committed to those launches has been 390 million. So 95% of the committed money was always refunded to the investors. And here are some other very cool stats. You see that the median commit was $500, but the average commit is like 20 times higher than the median. This just means that most likely VCs or big whales that wanna participate in those rounds, they come in at the very end and they just skew up this ratio, while all the retail investors, they put in a median amount of $500. And of course, the current model is far from ideal because you don't want to see that much overcommitment and people just putting in way more money that they are willing to buy. Therefore, the team already communicated that in the future, holders of previously launched ownership coins will get priority access compared to external investors, and they might also introduce a 1% taker fee on committed capital, which would prevent people just highly overcommitting. Here, some more launch stats. We see the 7 tokens that launched in the past on MetaDAO, the total money committed, and what the team decided to raise. And here we see the percentage of refunded funds. So this is basically also the percentage how much each round was overcommitted or oversubscribed. And to me, the most critical number here are participants. Just look here, 10K, 6K, 5K, 7K individuals got early access to investments or to projects that raised at a FTV of 3 million, 8 million, 2 million. And I mean, such opportunities never existed for retail investors before. You could invest in very early startups, sometimes just ideas, sometimes teams that have first signs of product market fit. But yeah, you can invest at incredibly low valuations. Of course, it's super risky, but this was previously not possible. And now finally you get access as an investor, and it comes with investor protection through Futarchy on top. But yeah, that's a topic for another day. And yeah, how did these token launches fare thus far? Here, I sourced the launch price and now the current price and the P&L of those tokens. So you see here, 𝗬𝗪𝗁 launched at 35 cents and is currently trading at $5.05. So it's up over 15x. Umbra is up 440%. Solomon is up 50%. OmniPair is up almost 7x. Loyal is up 40%, and then here zk-SOL and Paystream, they are down a little bit, but there is like the ceiling. They could not really drop further because the entire money that they raised, like a little bit south of 1 million for those 2 projects, this money still sits in the community treasury and they can always be clawed back by the investors. But yeah, that's also a separate topic. But if you as an investor would have put $1,000 in each of these projects, then you would sit on a 4x on your investment, which is pretty insane. And that's what the market is telling us right now. Everybody is sick and tired of these governance tokens, and they clearly demand ownership coins. Cool. Now let's take a look at upcoming ICOs on MetaDAO and new projects launching their ownership coins there. And yeah, pretty soon Ranger will have their ICO on MetaDAO. And just a TLDR of Ranger, please do your own research if you would like to invest there. They are a trading terminal and the first perps aggregator out there, which aggregates perps between Solana and Hyperliquid. I mean, I'm not a perps trader, but this sounds pretty interesting. because we all know spot aggregators like Jupiter, which just gives you the best price execution while it routes through all the various DEXs. Ranger will do the same for perps traders. And yeah, hence perps traders will just get better execution and better prices on Ranger, I guess. And of course, they also offer their traders spot products, and that's why they integrate with Titan in the background. So TLDR trading terminal where you can trade spot and perps. And yeah, why are they raising on MetaDAO? Because now they think it's time to scale the network. Their product has been live for a few months, probably already a year. And now they think it is battle tested. And now it's time to give their early users and community members access to their token, to have some skin in the game and to have like a loyal community that supports them out there. And yeah, this token launch will take place in the first week of December. It got slightly pushed back, more on that on a second. It will happen on MetaDAO. And yeah, they are aiming to raise at least $6 million. If there is less than $6 million of demand, then this project will get canceled. If there is more demand, as we saw with all the previous fundraisers, then the team can decide how much of the committed money they can take. The token will be distributed the following way. Always 50% goes to the community, like 10 million in the ICO, and then 2.9 million will be used to seed liquidity on the Futarchy, 𝗬𝗵, and on 𝗪𝗵𝘁. And here, that's why I highlighted it. This is super interesting because Ranger will be the first ownership coin that has received venture funding in the past. And until now, it was incompatible with MetaDAO because you could only raise there if you didn't have any previous investors. But now they figured out a solution. So basically, the VC coins, they are vested the same way as the team tokens. And another innovation that will be introduced with the Ranger ICO is that they are using their points program to give their early users and community member priority access to their ICO. Because as we've seen, most of those ICOs are highly oversubscribed and people only get a tiny fraction of what they are willing to buy. And hence now they say that everybody that used their trading terminal before will be whitelisted and get a guaranteed spot, and probably, I don't know, up to 5-6K, they will get this for sure. And yeah, this just solves the problem of oversubscribing and gives loyal users priority access. So I think that's a pretty cool feature and showcases that the MetaDAO team is constantly listening to their founders and the community and are continuously improving their protocol and adding new features to their Launchpad. And here a quick word on the revenue streams of Ranger. So Ranger is generating revenue by charging 0.02% of all the perps routing and 0.05% on all spot trading. And in the future, they are aiming to implement new products such as vaults, smart order routing, or prime brokerage offerings that could generate additional revenue for the protocol and its token owners. Cool. And here, one slide that I wanted to share with you that really resonated with me. The Ranger team stated, like, why are they launching on MetaDAO and why ownership coins matter to them? So what they stated in their blog post is that there is a core problem with most tokens today, namely that it is unclear where value actually accrues. Does it sit with the company or does it accrue to the token? And by launching their coin on MetaDAO, Ranger makes it explicit. Token holders will have ownership and control over the treasury. Token minting, that's very specific to MetaDAO, since tokens can always be minted, but only if token holders approve it. So that's a pretty sound mechanism, if you ask me. Third, they have control and ownership over the revenues and the IP, the intellectual property of the protocol, the trademark, and everything else that comes with it. So the team members, founders cannot run away and sell property rights to other folks out there, while token holders get nothing in exchange. So when 𝗪𝗂'𝗪𝗁, the co-founder of Ranger, said that they're planning to announce a hard date very soon, they're currently just waiting for the completion of a new MetaDAO mechanism. So yeah, thank you for your patience. As we've seen before, they are integrating 2 new features that now investors of previous rounds can participate as well, or they are considered in the fundraiser. And second, they are introducing this priority access for points holders or loyal users of the Ranger protocol itself. There is a clear trend that we can observe over the past few weeks and months that more and more credible and super legit teams are launching ownership coins on MetaDAO. And I thought this was a very beautiful post that really hits the nail on its head. And he said, like, it's becoming more and more clear that if startup tokens are not launching through MetaDAO, it will be viewed with a lot more skepticism, because founders, they can always run away with the raised money, which is not possible on MetaDAO. And he quote tweeted here the recent disaster with the 𝗪𝗵𝘁 token launch on Jupiter's new Launchpad, where snipers came in left and right, sniped up the entire supply, while Jupe stakers and other folks that wanted to get access to this token received nothing. And it was just a massive shit show. And at the end, they decided to rerun the ICO and do everything from scratch, because there was like one sniper that was able to catch 40% of the public sale by just batching together transactions and sniping them so that like he got access before everybody else did. But this was not the only reason of concern. I mean, like only 10% of the entire supply was sold via this ICO, while a mind-boggling 90% went to the team. And it was allocated to these nebulous or super dubious buckets like the foundation and the ecosystem that nobody even knows like what they are, what it is used for. And all of this is impossible if you launch on MetaDAO, since the entire supply goes to the ICO, and then the founders can allocate a bunch of the tokens to themselves, but they only unlock if the token goes up. And should the ecosystem or the foundation need any other tokens, then first it has to go through government, aka Futarchy, and has to be approved by everybody. And only if the community thinks that issuing new tokens will increase the token price, then it will be approved. And that's why ownership coins come with this massive moat, which is a community, since they give everybody early access to these compelling investment opportunities and profit. Here, once again, he says that MetaDAO and other projects that launched over there have never had any paid KOLs. So if you see people out there shilling projects like myself, that's because they bought some at launch or in the open market. And that's so important to understand, because if you give community members early access and within a few months they sit on 2, 3, 4, 5 access, then those will become lifetime supporters and shill your projects until the end of their lives. But of course, if you do an ICO at a valuation of 2 or 3 billions, the way that Moat did it a few days ago on Coinbase, then it will be hard to create this mode of hardcore community supporters. Because remember, only if the community is up, they will support you and weather with you the storm. Otherwise, they will just become fathers rather than shillers. And that's another core investment philosophy, like only invest in cults. And here 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗁 beautifully said that MetaDAO and Hyperliquid are the only 2 cults of this cycle. I don't know how much time you spent on crypto Twitter, but back in the days, it still happens. Just in the comments, you could read Hyperliquid, 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 and the same phenomena now happens with MetaDAO, where you just see Futardio everywhere, and those are like the Futards that are heavily supporting MetaDAO ownership coins, unruggable ICOs, so on and so forth. And here we have Sasha, that says that MetaDAO is the clearest asymmetric bet for a sub 1 billion market cap project if you have a time horizon greater than that of a goldfish and have the patience to hodl for 12 to 18 months. And a quick reminder, MetaDAO currently trades at a 120, 150 million market cap equals FTV. All the tokens are fully circulating. Hence, it's within the sub 1 billion category. And his main thesis is that MetaDAO has the potential to revolutionize on-chain capital formation, which is nothing else as the purest play on internet capital markets. Because ICOs back in the days, 2017, like they always had product market fit. It was just that the form in which they came was highly uncertain and flawed. I would say investors got rugged left and right. And now with these unruggable ICOs, MetaDAO introduced a new mechanism that solves for this issue, as investors can no longer be rugged by founders. Cool. So now that we have covered the primary use case of MetaDAO, which are ownership coins and unruggable ICOs, the second main utility and feature that MetaDAO brings to the table is Futarchy. Again, this would exceed the scope of this presentation. If you want to learn more about Futarchy, please check out my previous video on it. But the TLDR is that Futarchy is market-based governance compared to token/holder-voter-based governance. And here we see 𝗬𝗂, the co-founder of Zcash, which is like currently going through a quote-unquote governance crisis. He says that Zcash has a tradition of innovating itself out of governance crises, and he wonders whether Futarchy will be the next iteration of Zcash governance. And then 𝗪𝗵𝗆, and he just commented that I was born for this moment. I mean, if Zcash were to run future governance proposals via a Futarchy mechanism on MetaDAO, I would be super happy. Those are just one of my two favorite projects, Zcash for private internet money and MetaDAO, which are revolutionizing internet capital markets. And here we see the front end of MetaDAO, and they added Zcash for potential future Futarchy proposals. So they are ready from their side now, like they pushed the ball back to the Zcash side. Another team that is going full Futarchy is Drift. Here we see their co-founder sharing that they are super excited about the prospects of Drift going full Futarchy. Drift has currently accumulated a treasury of 42 million. And now, of course, they can secure this treasury so that token holders can be assured that the founders are not running away with it. But arguably even more interesting, especially for the founders, is that they have now access to Futarchy decision markets, which are the best mechanism to determine the optimal path forward for the protocol and how they are gonna spend that treasury to boost future protocol growth. So 𝗪𝗵𝘁, why are you bullish on MetaDAO? Here is a tweet of Strategic Hash, which I very much resonated with. And he says that MetaDAO is printing revenue, one thing that is very important to me as an investor, but it is also doing good to the industry and fixing lots of problems that have plagued the entire sector for years, especially by introducing ownership coins, giving token holders real ownership and control over the treasury and the revenue, and the unruggable ICO feature. And then secondly, like all the futards out there, I've never seen a niche community being so excited about the prospects and future growth possibilities of a project like MetaDAO. Furthermore, it gives you ownership rights. Here we have Mike Dudas from Sixth Man Ventures, one of the few VCs that invested in one of the previous Futarchy approved investment rounds where MetaDAO raised 10 million from various VCs, but this was approved by the community since they thought that onboarding VCs and giving the team access to 10 million would increase the token price of Meta. And he says the case for MetaDAO has simply never been stronger. The design, as we have seen, is not perfect today, but it will only get better week over week, so much higher. Here we have John, another VC that participated in this round as well. And he says, every day I become more bullish MetaDAO and less bullish any token that isn't an ownership coin. And I fully agree. I feel the very same. With ownership coins, I know what I get. And with all the other coins out there, you must always worry whether the team is rugging you or not. And probably one of the most overlooked or underrated factors why I like MetaDAO so much is that here, for the first time, you have perfect investor and founder alignment, since tokens for founders and team members only unlock if the token price goes up. So those are performance-based unlocks. So the team gets 20% of their tokens over 1.5 years if the price of the ICO goes up 2x, another 20% if the price goes up 4x, 8x, 16x, and 32x. So this prevents founders for just stopping to build and to grind, since, I mean, they receive their tokens nonetheless and can then dump on retail. But here, that's not possible. So if the founders want to benefit from the financial upside of their protocol, they have to grind and really ship and deliver a cool product. And another reason why I am super bullish on Meta is their chart. Look at it. While everything else is down only, Meta is holding up super, super strong. There are no big wicks like every other coin had during October 10th. And since then, Bitcoin, but especially altcoins, but also majors like Ethereum and Solana are really down only and bleeding massively. Meta is holding up super strong and is now higher than it was during these bad days where everybody else just went down. And even more impressively, if you look at the ownership coins that launched on MetaDAO, I mean, this is me a little bit cherry picking, but those are the 3 biggest and most successful ownership coins: Umbra, Avicii, and Solo. And look, they are all up and to the right. It's not that they have a superior business model. I just think that these tokens demand a higher premium, since investors get the guarantee that founders cannot rug, which is not the case with all the other coins out there. And of course, super important to me, the protocol also generates revenue. Yes, it does. So since they launched the new ICO platform roughly 1.5 months ago, MetaDAO generated 1.3 million in revenue. And this with only 7 coins live on MetaDAO. Just imagine how this revenue could go parabolic if we have 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 ownership coins launched via MetaDAO. And yeah, that's exactly the MetaDAO Flywheel, and this will be the final slide of this presentation. Just to remind you how the flywheel works, it is that founders launch their ownership coins on MetaDAO. This generates more protocol revenue for the MetaDAO treasury, since the more coins are traded, the more revenue is being generated for MetaDAO, as they take a taker fee on every swap of tokens launched there. This leads to a price increase of the Meta token. And as we know, price leads narrative. Price goes up, a new narrative emerges, more people become interested in MetaDAO. They do some research, probably they find this video, then they will learn about unruggable ICOs and ownership coins. And then they have this like light bulb moment, shit, I want ownership coins as well. And they just refuse to hold on to governance tokens and demand more ownership coins. And of course, also founders see the benefits of ownership coins. They can onboard the community very early on. And then this loop closes and starts from scratch. More founders are launching ownership coins. So it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy and positive flywheel, which I am super excited about. Cool, that's it for today's presentation. As always, I hope you got some value out of it. And yeah, if you want to know more about the individual ownership coins that I am holding, please feel free to join us at Onchain Trenches Plus, a private community of passionate DeFi users, on-chain trenchers, and NFT lovers, where I share my portfolio, trades, and everything related to crypto in real time. All right, that's it for today. 𝗬𝗵𝘁 out.